taking on Fnatic and their revitalized roster. A couple of bans coming out the gates for Elements for the time being. System will update in a brief moment or two, but Elements taken away Zed and Ari. Over on the other side, Defisher, you are correct. Rek'Sai taken off the table for Fnatic.
Yeah, I don't think we will be seeing her too often, at least not at the moment. It's funny because I walked into Elements' room here before the game started and they were warming up. And on the wall, they decided to type the tactic to beat Fnatic. It basically said, kill Febivin. And just looking at the bans here, they're at least trying to ban him out. 3 mid laners, 3 assassins, it's what he plays. He is a mid laner who can carry games on his own, so I actually quite like the tactic here from Elements. Target Febivin, try and shut him out.
Well, 1 ban remaining on the side of Fnatic. We are aware that they're not displaying on screen. I'll run through what they are for you. Elements has taken away Zed, Ari, and LeBlanc. Fnatic have taken away Rek'Sai, Lee Sin, and Kassadin. The first pick lock-in is the Janna for Elements.
Okay, so Gnar is actually left open here if Fnatic wants to pick it up, because I quite like first picking Janna. I think she's overall the strongest support, and just the insane amount of disengage she offers in a meta where there's so much hard engage is a good pickup. Lissandra is left open, Gnar is left open here for Fnatic if they want to pick them up. Could be the Gnar pick for Huni. I was looking at him in solo queue. He has a 100% win rate on Gnar. 10 games played, destroyed everyone.
Well, Gnar is destroying a lot of people at the moment. We're seeing him intermittently over in the LCK, former OGN in Korea. Also, very, very high amount of bans on that side of the river as well. Last couple of seconds here for Fnatic. As you already mentioned, Elements showing their target focus on Febivin. 5.1, remember, Syndra's laning phase damage is reduced, so we're not expecting to see her, but maybe some more standard mid laners. Lissandra and Siva locked in for Fnatic.
So I like the Lissandra pick up here as well. She's a flex pick. She can be in the mid lane, she can be in the top lane, and that has been the go-to thing in pick and ban phase. If you look at Korea, if you look at China as well here, get the early flex picks so you don't really tell too much about your composition. Fnatic, however, does show us they want to engage. I mean, you have Siva ulti now, and you have Lissandra going in, so they really want to dive for the back line. And that's obviously where Janna is going to be very useful for Elements. And
of course, on the side of Elements, we've seen them run disengage, late scaling team comps quite frequently. If you think back to last year, Froggen ran a lot of Lulu and even Orianna to help support the rest of the team. Definitely taking their time. Both of these squads have run the clocks down in almost every single pick phase.
Jarvan pickup is very smart. Lee Sin has been banned away. I've never really seen Shug play a Rengar, which would fit in with the Lulu pickup. But just getting the Jarvan, overall, again, one of the best junglers we have. And synergizes with Lulu pretty well as well. If you want to really go for that engage, if you want to try and get to Sivir, speed up the Jarvan. You have wild growth as well, and you just collapse onto a steelback in these team fights.
And of course, we are seeing the coaches on stage. Keep in mind that for the 2015 season, coaches are allowed to be on stage to help their teams during picks and bans. This is D-Lore or Louis David Seville Petit on the side of Fnatic. He is their coach.
And he likes engage.
He does like engage.
There's so many options here for Fnatic. Rengar coming in, great synergy with Sivir, of course. Talisman build on Annie is what we normally see also over in Korea, so you just have double speed up for your Rengar. Lissandra can follow up as well. Everything on Fnatic's comp right now says we don't want to sit back and wait for you guys to farm up to late game. We want to force picks, we want to force team fights again and again and again.
Racking my brain, but I think it was SKT who's been playing a lot of Annie support over in LCK, and Chaser reminds me it was Rengar in the jungle. We'll see whether or not Rainover can have the same level of performance. EU Rengars have not been strong in the past.
But he's a Korean.
He is a Korean player, but we need to see if he can execute with 3 Europeans from the middle lane down. Last 2 picks over on the side of Elements. Graves for Reckless, secured. 1 option left. It is Aurelia locked in. Wicked is going to the champion that made him famous all those years ago.
So again here, Elements realizing there's so much engaged on Fnatic side and a very, very strong mid-game coming in as well, that you have to pick up some mid-game power yourself. Graves coming in, first of all, for Reckless, and of course the Aurelia. Get your Trinity Force, get your big power spike. So Elements responding here, and at the same time, they still have a good late game comp. Lulu has been played a lot in the mid lane. She's just so annoying to deal with. She brings so much utility to the table, disengage with the Janna. So Elements here have the tools to stop an engage from coming in, but they have to be so careful. You can never split it off. You can never run away from your own teammates, because suddenly Fnatic is just going to catch you and kill you instantly.
Well, we'll see if Fnatic have the ability to pull that trigger. It's the second or third time we've seen that hover on Twisted Fate. Febivin has been heavily targeted from the bans, with Zed, Ari, and LeBlanc taken off the table. Going to decide what he locks in, and it will be Xerath as the final pick. So going to be hoping that Annie and Siva plus Lissandra initiation will be enough. No traditional front line on the side of Fnatic. If a straight-up fight happens, I'm scared for them.
Yeah, that's normally the problem when you don't run with a tank. If you start falling behind and Rengar just jumps in and instantly dies again, there's no Lulu either to help him with the wild growth, which is a combo we have seen quite a lot lately. That could be a problem for them, so they have to start looking for the picks here. And normally, Xerath with a hard engage comp, I'm not a big fan of it because Xerath wants to sit back and poke. But I feel like this is just to add even more pick potential for them because Xerath is a champion who can both poke from long range, but also set up these picks here with his long range stun, and then the rest of the team can just jump in, and you can burst down a target, and he can stay back as also one of the safe wave clears for Fnatic here. But a little bit strange with Xerath being locked in for Feb. Clearly, though, Fnatic looking for the picks.
So Fnatic will see if they can find their pick comps. Going back to a playstyle that has made them really quite famous over the years when Pekka, Soaz, and Cyanide would tag team up to take people down. So we'll have to see how they execute their comp and how well they perform. Over on the other side for Elements, it's pretty much same old, same old. They don't have anything too shocking or exciting. Lulu, Irelia, Jarvan, it's nothing we haven't seen before.
Again, it's only the AD carry position, which is different. So why would that change a lot? Especially because Reckless share the same playstyle and mentality as Froggen. Far more played safe, win in 5 versus 5.
All right, well, those lineups are locked in. Hop onto Twitter, tell her who you think will win the first game of the season. Tweet at LOL Esports. Use the hashtag ELWin or hashtag FNCWin, and we'll check on the results in just a minute to find out who you guys at home are feeling has the advantage in this matchup. We're about to jump into the very first game of the spring split of the 2015 League of Legends Championship Series. It's Fnatic on the red side with their imported Korean players taking on Elements with their imported Fnatic member. Let's find out who is dominant and who is going to get the first W in the books in 2015. We actually saw Rainover using those base gates. That's the first time I've seen it on the LCS. 1 point to him.
It's going to be the first time we see Yellowstone and Rainover run together, roam around. Shook has already spotted them. Shook, as it is now. Actually going for invade instantly. They want to try and get some deep wards here because the lanes from Elements are very, very strong. So they want to try and spot a lane swap. For now, Wicked might be forced to flash away.
Well, let's see if he's going to use that flash or not. Fnatic able to put pressure on Wicked and just get control of the jungle. Martin, you mentioned it's a vision game. Let's see how Fnatic make use of the vision they've gained.
So Fnatic early on here, basically just running 5 members into the jungle, forcing Elements away, placing a deep ward. You see the ward between the 2 towers in the top lane all the way down around the inhibitor, simply to spot if the enemy dual lanes is running to the top side so you can swap around it here, because Elements have some solid lanes. Aurelia into Lissandra is not a bad matchup, and Janna Graves is one of the best, if not the best, dual lane. So Fnatic, wise enough, want to try and swap away from it.
Well, we'll see if Fnatic can get their wishes. Froggen having a little bit of a dance, matched by Febivin. I feel like this is going to be a fairly passive mid lane. Not a whole lot of kill pressure from either of these respective champions.
Look at what Nif is doing. He's staying around the Grom. Want to see if Fnatic wants to start early on. So we will actually have standard lanes. Fnatic decided they... Oh, well, Fnatic didn't actually spot anyone from Elements and just had to run down to this bottom side. No camps being taken at level 1 either. Vector's just helped out. Sure. Getting a good start in the jungle.
Well, straight up head-to-head. They are going to be seeing top laners doing battle in their home, with Reckless and Nif getting a small advantage in this bottom lane. We'll see who goes aggressive at level 2 or not. Yellow start with the stun primed. Definitely trying to keep Nif on the back foot.
Yeah, but this bottom lane here, it is so hard to trade with a Graves. Not only does he get the tanky stats, he has a lot of early game damage. You add in the shield from Janna, and you just straight up lose the trade. There's no sustain on either of the lanes. Yellow star at the moment really has to just stay passive, can't get poked, even misses the stun here at the start.
Yeah, not going to be able to get that damage down and return. Reckless and Nef already with some control in the lane. Have a look at the rest of it. Febivin and Froggen as anticipated. Fairly even slugfest. Just going to keep themselves farming up. Both of the top laners starting Crystalline Flask. So Huni and Wicked going for the extended sort of sustain battle. Big way of pushing against Wicked though. So this is going to make Huni's life a little bit riskier in the coming few minutes.
Yeah, he also knows you won't really get much help from Rainover early on here on the Rengar. You really want to farm before you level 6, where Shook instead can decide to actually gank early on. But we do see a little change for the junglers. What you want to do now, because you get 30 gold from your upgraded jungle item, is once you do 3 camps, you actually go back to base, you upgrade it instantly, both jumpers did it here, and then you go back and take your second buff to maximize your gold income.
We'll have to see how both of these junglers perform, both opting for the Rangers Trailblazer on 5.1. So we're not going to be seeing that chilling smite that we've come to expect over the last couple of weeks. On the bottom lane, Reckless and Nif continue to exert their lane dominance. Just a small CS advantage, but Steelback low on HP, out of mana, and no sustain either.
We might see Shook go back to base later on and actually swap his Rangers Trailblazer into a Chilling Smite or the Stalker's Blade. Of course, now it is for free to swap them as long as you don't actually enchant it. Because there are some very good lanes for him to gank with the Chilling Smite. Xerath, of course, is immobile, and at the same time, Annie, you can gank her in this bottom lane if she plays too aggressive, so it could be an option for him. I like how Reyna is just getting some extra gold here, because, again, you get the 30 gold and 50 from the crab itself here, so smart of him to throw that in his rotation. This gang, let's see what he can do.
Oh, Nif is stunned up. Here comes Rainover. He's rooted. First blood goes to Steelback up in the top lane, and instant reply from Elements, but that's a 1-for-1 trade. Fnatic come out ahead, first blood and a kill in the top lane.
2 kills here, and if you can get a gank working on a Rengar pre-level 6, that is so good here. Beautiful setup, flashed on from Yellowstar, then the Boulder Strike onto Nif. He ends up dying, and of course Wicked in this top lane, flashing in on the tower, ends up dying as well.
Before 5 minutes on the clock, we've got 3 kills on the board. Shook and Wicked unable to secure that kill without cost. Rainover's going to steal some jungle camps as well.
I really like this here. Get the Raptor, control it early on, because that's how you can clear out the enemy wards. So he goes in, make sure Shook now has to wait for it to respawn before he can do anything towards the mid lane. Let's see Rainover, he's not done.
Well, it's if he can land the Boulder Strike. He cannot. Froggen takes a lot of damage, but Rainover's going to be able to make his way out of the lane. It seems even Korean Rengars can miss skill shots. He's sticking around though. Maybe wants to try once again.
He's
gonna hop, he's gonna skip, the baller goes wide, gonna land the second one. Here comes Shook. No knock up in place. Huna's come to join the party. He's managed to lock Froggen down. They've traded 1-for-1, but Yellowstar's roam was unneeded and no assist gains.
For Fnatic here, again, everything is set up, everything is pre-planned. They roam in bottom lane. Reckless had recall to base, so Yellowstar knew he could roam to mid lane and open his top side once again. When he had pushed it down, moves towards this middle lane, won't really lose any farm up there. So everything being set up towards the aggressive plays from Fnatic early on.
Yeah, very well played from Fnatic thus far, despite the fact they have given up 2 kills. But you've got to give some props to Rainover's Rengar. As a champion that's not particularly famous for his pre-level 6 impact. And Rainover is basically disregarding that to pull himself in. There's the vote, 30% in favor of Fnatic. I wonder if people are jumping on the Twitter, changing their minds after seeing the early play. Huni is going to get 1v1, potentially manages to get away with a Claw of Doom. 100 HP, gets out alive.
Yeah, Wicked has been doing actually a good job in terms of farm. He got the kill early on where the wave was actually pushed into the tower, so Huni lost a lot of that CS. And now with the roam as well, and just Aurelia, once she hits that level 6 punch, she can all in Lissandra. There's not really any chance of replying back from Huni.
Well, let's see what Fnatic can do. They've only got themselves a 200 gold advantage. A lot of damage being put down on this bottom tower. Pickaxe, Doran's Blade, and Boots for both of the respective AD carries. It looks like Reckless, Febivin rather, is going to be working his way towards a Morella Nomicon. Interesting of 5-for-1, despite the fact that it is more expensive and slightly less gold efficient.
Yeah, but not really enough magic damage on the side of Elements to make him build the Athenes instead. So Morella is a smart choice. Still very, very gold efficient, even though it has been nerfed a little bit and costs 200 more gold. But notice how Fnatic has placed the pink wards in the river here. So it sets up the option of you roaming from your lane, from the top lane, from the bottom lane to mid here, in case anything happens. And Elements won't be able to spot them, simply due to the pinks.
Well, let's see what happens. We got pressure in the top lane. Rainover looking to set up some pressure onto Huni. Huni's been caught out. Wicked is with so much damage down before he gets locked up by that Glacial Tomb. Now we see Wicked rooted in place. Huni is going to put the damage from afar and get out cleanly. Rainover and Huni with a perfect gank. They punish Wicked for going aggressively. And Fnatic, they have something to prove in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, and every time I talk to players about scrimming Fnatic, they say, well, Fnatic, they're pretty good, especially the top side of the map is amazing. Rainover and Huni together, the synergy, they constantly set up picks. We've seen them both in the mid lane, now in the top lane, and it's just working for them.
Well, let's see what Reckless can do. He's been stunned up. It's a lot of damage being put down from Steelback, but the reply from Reckless and Nif is much higher. That's a summon a heal from Steelback to potentially save Yellowstar's life. Ignite traded from Nif, and Shook thinks he wants a taste. He does have that slam dunk cataclysm available.
For now, just very close. Yellowstar had no flash actually from the gank, which gave the first ball onto Nif. In the end, they end up just pushing it in, and we see the lanes from Elements. This is why we talk about Fnatic potentially lane swapping it, because the Grave Janna lane is extremely strong 2v2, and Wicked doing a good job one-on-one, despite dying twice. Elements are looking okay, even though the kills have gone over to Fnatic.
Yeah, take a look at the CS numbers. Wicked, small advantage in the top lane, around 10 CS. Sizable advantage for Reckless in the bottom lane, despite the fact that Steelback got that first blood secured in his hands. And we'll see how these lanes continue to play out. We've seen Reignover a couple of times put some pressure on that Scuttle Crab. Huni is just getting shredded by the phage of Wicked.
Yeah, a little bit surprised Tony actually wants to complete his Morello Nomicon as the first item. What we have seen a lot is you just get your Codex and you get instantly the cooldown reduction boots, as much cooldown reduction as possible, and then you go into your Arm Guard, into your Hourglass, because you need these tanky stats, you need the Hourglass to be able to actually engage onto the enemy team. So would have helped him quite a lot to get an early Arm Guards and not exactly just straight up finishing the Morello Nomicon.
Well, we'll see how that impacts Huni's game. Yellowstar and Reignover have been playing the ward game over the last few minutes, setting up some slightly deeper vision. The added pressure is going to secure the first tower of the game in favor of the Summer Split #2 team, Fnatic. And this is something that I think would surprise many viewers, is just how well Fnatic are performing during the opening 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, early aggressive plays, and then Elements, as we know them, they sit back, they farm, they don't really try and make too many plays early on. It's all about Sugar, actually, if he wants to gank or not, and that can both work out really well, or he can fail horribly. So for now, he's been fairly passive on this job and just tried a few counter ganks, and the one gank in top lane.
Well, we'll see what he can do. He's got the Warrior Enchant. There are 3 members of Elements in the mid lane. They're looking for Feathervin. There's the movement speed from Shook. He puts the Cataclysm down, and Feathervin flashes away. So at the end of the day, Summoner Spell game.
Yeah, forcing the flash here, you don't have to use flash yourself. That is definitely worth it for Elements, because Xerath is a very immobile champion in this mid lane. So next time ulti is ready for Shook, he can just go in and do exactly the same thing once again, but pick up a kill.
Well, we'll see if they can actually secure that kill in the middle lane. In terms of itemization, BF Sword picked up for Steelback. Reckless did finish his early Berserker's Greaves. Still going to be working on
just
those.
A ward, guys. It's just a ward.
No, let's not encourage that. It's 2015. Right, Wicked's going to stun Huni up, and again, just put so much damage down. Huni is falling further and further behind in the CS.
But Reignover moving to this top lane here. Not only can he actually dive onto Wicked, he's also here for the potential counter gank in case Shook wants to come up here to this top lane.
Well, we'll see what they decide to do. Reignover, with his flash and his full stacks, decides to back away. He'll return to his jungle. Also completed the Warrior Enchant. First couple of Morello Nomicons still on the board for both Froggen and Reckless. I'm a little surprised to see Froggen going Morello Nomicon with Lulu, considering the Lissandra, Xerath, sort of any threat on the side of Fnatic. We've discussed how we thought we'd see more Athenes in 5.1, but nevertheless, Froggen's first item completed.
I actually think, yeah, Athenes would have been the better choice for him in this mid lane. You don't really need the Morello Nomicon on Lulu. You need to stay back and actually survive the fight so you can constantly provide help to your teammates. I would expect him to go Death Cap here as the second item for him, because you want to get as much flat AP on Lulu as possible, because every single ability, of course, scales with ability power, and you don't really need penetration early on for, let's say, your Whimsy, seeing as it's put on your teammates. Well, most of the time.
Most of the time. We'll see what Froggen decides to do next. The pace has slowed down in the game the last few minutes. Fnatic
Reignover again, though.
Had a few more aggressive plays. Reignover's miles away. You're getting too excited, Deficio.
Well, he's a Rengar, though. He can just pop his ulti and go in and try and dive with it. He's still a little bit too tanky, full HP as well. Don't really want to risk it. There's no deep wards from Fnatic, so they don't actually know if Shook is waiting around. So just playing it safe. Don't want to try a too risky dive. And just as I say it, he moves back up to his top lane.
We'll see. It's not really risky just yet. 2v1. They've got the support of Yellowstar moving up. Fnatic definitely more proactive in the game, and I have to say, I have to mirror what Mr. Rawls was saying earlier, how Elements seem to have a fairly weak early game. Fnatic have begun to punish that. And the question is, what more can they do? There's 3 members of Fnatic in the top lane. Here comes Huni. He's going to follow in the Claw of Doom. That's an instant flash from Wicked. That's going to get him out alive.
Yeah, just saw the mark above his face. Knew Reignover was there as well, but he's going to lose his tower. I mean, he's all alone up here. No help. Shook is just running around in his own jungle. And once again, Fnatic roaming around the map here, setting up the ganks, picking up a tower. Will lose the one in bottom lane instead, though.
So it's going to be a trade tower for tower. Fnatic get top while Elements take bottom. It's going to keep gold even.
I quite like the trade though for Fnatic because they want to get all these outer turrets down so they open up the map here so they can get in some deep wards in the jungle of elements and they can start looking for these picks with the Rengar, with the Xerath coming in. So for them, trading outer turrets is actually a good trade.
Right, we'll see if they can make use of it and see how good Element's warding game will become. Knowing that the top and bottom half of the map is exposed, Elements need to ensure that the kitty cat of Reignover's Rengar doesn't run circles around them. Take a look at Reckless. He continues to grow his CS advantages up to around 30 now. Has had that Avarice Blade for a few minutes, sitting on a decent chunk of change. We'll see how quickly he can gather that Infinity Edge into Static Shiv, which is what we're expecting, but he's still a little while away from that.
Yeah, it will be the Static Shiv for sure for him. A little bit surprising. I mean, we have seen a lot of Phantom Dancer here on 5-1-1 because it is better, it's been buffed. Got the 5% crit and Infinity Edge lost. Dragon here by Elements. No response from Fnatic at all because they're just sitting back at their towers farming. So that was the wave control we just saw from Elements here, where you push up the important lanes and you can see everyone on the map from the enemy team because they sit and farm on the turret, and you just walk down, take a very, very easy Dragon. All the walls being placed around it as well.
Yeah, completely uncontested from Fnatic. Reignover's going to clear out that ward before moving back into his side of the jungle. And Fnatic, despite a small gold lead, they now start to rotate themselves. They've got both Yellow Star and Steelback near the mid lane. Reignover is going to have to get some s'mores and pitch a tent near that top lane because he's been babysitting Huni this entire game.
Yeah.
It has resulted in a few kills, but Huni has been struggling one-on-one.
Yeah, right now Fnatic needs to get down this mid turret. They're actually already pinging it with a lot of members, so they're gonna try and just straight push it down while Froggen is getting his blue buff. Tibbers to tank it.
Well, we'll see how long they can make this plan work. The rest of Elements is trying to respond. He has a teleport from Wicked. That's going to be Tibbers for the teleport. I think that's a trade Fnatic will be happy with at the end of the day. And again, aggressive, positive plays from Fnatic. They really are demonstrating they've got a game plan, they've got a strategy, and they're executing.
They also show how much they want this mid tower to die. So again, they open up this map. They didn't care about the Dragon at all. There was no wards around it. It's been all about pushing towers. And in the end, Reckless has been able to go up to this top side because Fnatic were focusing on the mid lane and it was defended due to teleport and no minions being there. Well, another tower for Elements. So keeping it very, very even in gold.
Well, we'll see who's going to make the first big misplay. Elements have grouped up in the mid lane. We'll see if they're going to put some damage down onto Fnatic's mid outer tower. The tower that Fnatic tried to take so sneakily is going to backfire. Elements, it looks like they might get this tower before Huni can arrive. Teleport is channeling, and it looks like he's going to get it. They've locked Wicked up. Now Fnatic have started the fight. We do see Nif and Wicked going very, very low. Wicked goes under the tower. Tower survives. Feathervin is going to look for the stun. Going to throw down that Arcano Pulse and burn Reckless down, but Fnatic defend the tower and get a kill onto Wicked.
Yeah, a lot of ults is being used here by Elements. Let's see if they can actually defend. They have a lot of wave clear still, but all 5 members from Fnatic are around.
Well, we'll see what Fnatic can do. Minion wave has been cleared thanks to that buckshot from Reckless. That means Fnatic look like they're going to back away. So Fnatic get their 5th kill of the game, try to put some pressure down in the Elements jungle. Reignover and the rest of the team still sticking fairly close by though. So Fnatic, they haven't given up on this objective yet. They really, really want that last outer tower.
Yeah, they don't have to because Feathervin on the Xerath has already hit quite a big power spike by getting magic penetration and a Morello and Nomicon. And he sits on a blue buff as well, so he can just stare out, poke. Shook might be in trouble.
That's a lot of damage onto Shook. Reignover's going to turn his attention over to the tower, and Shook gets out alive. That was very, very close. But Fnatic, very aggressive in their play, took advantage of the fact Wicked wasn't there, and they grabbed themselves the 3rd tower of the game. This has been a bit of a slug match back and forth between the teams, and Fnatic barely holding on to the lead.
Well, for now at least, they got what they wanted in the start. Didn't care about the Dragon, just wanted down these towers here. Now we have to see if they want to go back, buy some more wards, and actually start placing them a bit further inside Elements jungle so they can start looking for picks here, or if they're happy just constantly running around between the lanes and just hoping to see if they can find someone. For now though, Reignover has done a very good job on Rengar. He's basically had the perfect start for Rengar pre-level 6, was part of 2 kills. He needs to keep it up, and I actually like the fact he's going full tank after getting the war in charge. You don't need anything else. You're going to be the guy jumping in together with the Lissandra, so you need to be able to stay alive.
Well, he's certainly got enough damage sources from the rest of the team, that's for sure. But Reignover now needs to find the targets. He needs to find the objectives that he can root in place and lock down. There's not a whole lot of movement speed boosts on the side of Fnatic, which you typically see paired with those Rengars, but if you got good enough vision and good enough decision making, Sivir ulti's a big commitment, It's not a Janna, it's not a Lulu, it's not an Orianna W, for example, like we've seen in other regions.
And that's why Yellowstar is going to sell his gold per 10 item and pick up a talisman later on, I would expect from him, so he can add in a second, a little bit worse Sivir ulti, but even more movement speed than from Fnatic. So you have Sivir ulti and the talisman from the Annie to start the engages. And Fnatic instantly, seeing Reckless in this bottom lane, knowing he's going to stay and farm, run towards this top side. He was already being built up the wave by Huni, and start pushing down a little bit, but good reaction from Elements.
Yeah, surprisingly not a lot of damage. Fnatic got a few auto attacks onto the tower, but it really wasn't a huge amount.
The thing is, you have to respect the engage from Elements if you're standing that close to the tower. Aurelia, again, sitting on Trinity Force, we know how strong she can be. Lulu as well in this mid-game is actually where she still has a lot of damage. And as soon as Reckless would be able to join in, if Elements had caught Fnatic, they would have won the team fight. Remember, Fnatic are looking for the picks here, not the straight-up 5 versus 5 against Elements.
Well, Fnatic got spotted by that scrying orb of Reckless. Put it right down and revealed all 5 members. The Fnatic death bush was thwarted. We'll see if anybody's going to get caught out. Huni gets knocked up in the air. He's going to have to use that Glacial Tomb. He throws it down on himself. The fight has begun. We see Rainover jumping forward. Timbers has been dropped down into place there by Yellowstar. The slam dunk of the Cataclysm. Wicked is the first victim of the fight, and we see Febiven securing another onto Shook. Fnatic turned the engage around. It was Shook that went in deep.
Yeah, Elements over-committing here. Half the members were standing on the other side of the wall down in the river and couldn't really join in here. Then Wicked jumps in the end, all alone, ends up dying, and Shook, of course, went in as the first member. There's going to be a tower, though. So everyone from Fnatic just instantly recalls after the fight.
2 kills for Fnatic, and we do see them setting up for Dragon.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they recall here. They don't care about the tower because Dragon is spawning in 15 seconds. So as soon as the fight was over, go back, return down, or come down to this Dragon now, set it up. Reckless, though, we'll secure a little bit of vision here for Elements.
Well, keep your eyes on those ultimate cooldowns. So many of them are unavailable if a fight were to break out. So close eyes on who's going to get those cooldowns first. They might try set up for position and vision.
Fnatic, though, didn't have the time off the Dragon beforehand. It was controlled by Elements, and everyone else was just sitting back and farming. But they should know it's respawned by now. Both teams setting up here. Yellowstar needs to be careful.
Oh, Yellowstar now gets knocked up. Shook goes in aggressively. Yellowstar just gets instantly melted. Nip is the next focus for Rainover as we do see Wicked jumping back into the fight. Buckshot goes down from Reckless, and now Fnatic trying to put some damage down. Huni manages to hold Wicked in place long enough to trade 1 life for 1, but unfortunately, Yellowstar went down earlier, so Elements 2 for 1.
And this is simply because Elements already had a lot of wards placed around this Dragon here. There were 2 pink wards behind, so they knew Fnatic couldn't see them. And we're just waiting for Yellowstar to come in and try and clear a ward, engage onto him. We're just going to see it again. There's no vision for Yellowstar. He has no idea what's going to happen. Jumps on, instantly dies. And now Elements 5 versus 4 takes the fight. And obviously we'll be able to clean it up. Wicked once again, going very deep.
And there's the engage you were talking about. Elements again and again there. Shook just leading the charge. Managing to get a kill this time around. That was a better executed fight on the side of Elements in contrast to the mid lane fight that happened a few minutes prior. But Fnatic still, after 22 minutes, with the debut of their brand new squad, still hold on to the lead against the Summer Split champions. We're going to go for round 3 near the mid lane as Fnatic have themselves grouped up on their side of the jungle. Elements have got all the toys to play with, and teleport is available for Huni as well. So let's see who's going to pull the trigger first.
No Hourglass yet for him, though, so he can't really just engage onto Elements. The same can be said for Wicked. I mean, every time he goes in, everyone turns around, kills him. He has no tank items just yet. Let's see, Reno, he's going in.
Well, let's see who he targets. He does forward. They do lock down Wicked. Wicked's been stun locked. Wicked's been dropped. Fnatic now have the numbers advantage, but they use 2 ultimates, 3 ultimates in that engage. We'll see what they decide. They've set their sights on the inner mid turret.
And this really is the pick potential you have with a Rengar, with a Sivir as well. We saw Steelbike pop his ulti, speed up Rainover, and Wicked, which is caught all alone in this mid lane here. Tower going down as well. Fnatic could rotate over to the Dragon and pick it up.
Well, despite all the vision that Elements had in the river earlier, it ends up being for naught as Fnatic get the tower and position on Dragon.
Never mind what I just said before here. Wicked has teleport ready. He just respawned now, and the rest of Elements is joining in, so we might have a fight here.
Yeah, Fnatic has stood right on top of a ward. Let's see what they do.
Teleport.
Wicked has already begun channeling. Dragon is up. It gets secured by Rainover. Smite went down. We do see the Cataclysm from Shook as he slam dunks down. Fnatic trying to set themselves up. Glacial Tomb will keep Huni alive for a few seconds longer, but Froggen with the Glitter Lance. He gets the first kill of the fight. Rainover looks to secure one, but he's dropped in the background. Shook gets sniped by Febiven. Fnatic are 3 for 1 in the fight, and they're going to take Wicked down. 4 for 2. Fnatic get Dragon. Fnatic are in control.
The team fights here from Elements, there's no coordination. Everyone just piled in there, hit random targets. Steelback, he was left untouched. Feberman sitting in the back line as well, and Zero. Let's just see it again. Dragon being started, Teleport comes in, 5 versus 5. Shook with a actually pretty nice ulti onto Huni, keeping him locked in. He's not able to engage, but notice how Elements pick their targets here. Nobody's touching Steelback. Feberman sitting in the back line, and suddenly those two members together with Rainover can just start cleaning up, picking up kills left and right. I don't think Yellowstar did anything in this fight, but there's just still, if you don't focus the carries here, you're gonna lose.
Well, great team fights and targeting from Fnatic in their debut on the 2015 season. 5-0-3 by Febervin on Xerath. You have to ask yourself the question, with 3 target bans towards Febervin, and taking Lulu off the table early, and him locking in Xerath, he is still doing a phenomenal job. Maybe Rengar should have been one of those bans, because Rainover has had a great game thus far.
Right now, at least, it's looking very, very good for Fnatic. And Bluebuff?
Went Shook.
It's Shook. He wants to smite it away here.
But it's better on Shook than it is on Frogger. We do see Rainover has been caught out. Here comes Shook. No knock-up in place. Steelback throws down on the hunt, I believe. Movement speed is already worn off. We do see Huni going in. This is a scattered fight. Huni, plus the help of Febervin's going to secure 2 for the trade of 1. Hourglass had already been used, but again, Fnatic with the advantage.
Yeah, and the way they've been using Xerath here in this comp is, it's been beautiful to watch, actually. Every single time everyone goes in and locks down a target, Febervin just pops his ulti and just start smacking down on them, killing them left and right here. He picked up another kill for himself, and he sits so far back in these fights. And because Elements can't really get to the backline of Fnatic at this moment because they end up dying. They're too squishy. The Jarvan and the Aurelia pick, they're not tanky enough to just dive onto Fnatic. Then Febervin is just left untouched.
And he manages to finish the kills. Fnatic, with their 5th tower of the game, take up the top inner turret. Elements are being pushed further and further back, down 5,000 gold, down 8 kills, down 2 towers. Fnatic are definitely showing up, but the next question is, how do they finish? We've seen recently, it's been quite difficult for teams to finish. They like to get those 4th and 5th dragons, and we hope Fnatic can push down quicker than that.
So we have to remember Baron is weaker now. Pre-40 minutes is a lot weaker compared to 4.21, the old patch we had, which means Fnatic can actually set up a Baron play, force Elements to come in and try and fight them, and then just pick them off here. They can't just let them start it because they will be able to take it fairly easily and start pushing down with these super minions who are too strong for Elements to just sit and wave clear with the members of Fnatic staying around as well this early in the game.
Well, we'll see what Fnatic decide to do. Their focus has very clearly been on the towers. Yellowstar using Tibbers a couple of times to try and tank the turret damage and keep putting pressure down. If you look at the itemization, that Hourglass for Huni completed, Morellonomicon completed, Wicked only managed to get himself the first item of the Spirit Visage, Spectre's Cowl. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of movement for Wicked's top lane Aurelia.
No, both top laners in this game have basically just been running with their team. They haven't really been sitting and farming, so Wicked has had no chance of actually getting tanky, and Shook is in trouble once again. Feberman joins in as well. Such a nice combo.
Well, I can't really add much to that, can I? Locked down, Febervin shut
Straight
down.
to Baron.
So Fnatic have got control of the crab, they've got the vision, they know they've got the kill onto the jungler. And as you rightly mentioned, 5.1 Baron is weaker. It's dropping down to half health, but Elements are looking to set up a challenge. Can they pick the fight? That's the question. Baron already secured for Fnatic. Now we see the first victim is Febervin. Rainover looking to jump on Reckless. They traded 1 for 1 thus far in the fight, but Nif gets down in the background. That's a clear win for Fnatic. They lost 2 members, but killed 3 in reply, plus secured Baron on all of their carries. This is absolute control for Fnatic.
Again, there are wards everywhere. They could see where Elements was engaging from, picked up the Baron, and then instantly turned around and just took the fight. They are so much stronger at the moment. Being this far ahead in gold, 27 minutes in, that's a lot on this new map where you don't get the global gold from Dragon anymore.
10 seconds before everyone from Elements is back up and alive, and Fnatic are going to take the first inhibitor turret of the game. Going to secure that and back away cleanly. Baron will be up for a few minutes longer. 8,000 gold in the lead. And this crowd seems silenced by Fnatic's performance. It has been dominant from the get-go. They got first blood, they got the first tower. they've made Elements dance to the Fnatic beat.
They've completely punished Elements in their normally passive and somewhat weak early game by saying we just want to get towers early on, we want to open up the map, and we know if we play something like a Rengar and a Lissandra, we can constantly pick you off, and it's what it's basically been happening the entire game long. Wicked never had the chance to get tanky, died every single team fight. I mean, he's 3-8-3 at the moment. That's not a standard score on Aurelia, and Yellowstar doing it.
Well, there's a flash, there's a stun. 3 members of Elements are down. Here comes Huni, they've got one already. Reckless is down, Fnatic have taken him. Can Febiven start?
Oh,
1,
Wicked
2.
as well.
That's a score, Fnatic. They get 2 more kills, it's not over yet.
Cancel
is looking for a fight, he's cancelled the recalls. The rest of the team is in the mid lane. There's your base gates if Elements can make use of them. But Fnatic going to take the first inhibitor.
Look at Reignover.
They're going to push down. Reignover's kept Froggen and Shook in place. He's just trying to survive as long as possible. He still has held him down. Nexus turret number 1 is being dropped. Fnatic, they've got the first Nexus turret. What are they going to do? It looks like they're sticking for the time being. They know they've got a numbers advantage. Nif is forced to use that Monsoon to try and stun everyone up. He's going to potentially go down. Fnatic wisely back away, but that's 1 Nexus turret remaining for Elements.
Such a nice push again here. Huni actually teleported in behind Elements, and Yellowstar just flash tippers to start the whole fight. Once again, the coordination in these fights are beautiful. I mean, you're looking at a team where 2 of the members are Korean, who's only been here for like a month in Europe, and yet this coordination in team fights, in the way to set up everything, it's just beautiful to watch.
It really, really is. 30 minutes on the clock. We were talking earlier in the week about what sort of length of games we were expecting from teams, and Fnatic have just been so coordinated and going for the objectives. Third Dragon is going to get taken in the team of the game. It's the second for the blue team, that is for Elements. Not been a focus, not anywhere near as much of a focus as we've seen from other regions, but when you're playing Fnatic's playstyle, 10k gold and 4 towers, who needs dragons?
And that's what we have to remember. Again, Dragon doesn't give the global gold, so you don't get as big as a lead if you just take every single dragon until you hit the 5th dragon in the game. You get the double stacks, of course. Before that point, it is an advantage for you to have them, but constantly taking towers and getting the global gold and then getting a pick every single time, that's how you get a big goal lead. That's how you get ahead in items and can keep playing that aggressive and not relying on having these dragons.
Well, you step back from this game, you look at Fnatic coming in. Little to no expectations on their shoulders. Elements, the entire weight of gameplay for them. We'll get to that in a second. Huni's knocked up. That's a double knock-up. That looks to be an instant flash away. Here comes the slam dunk. The Yellowstar's locked in the cage. The rest of Fnatic seem to be backing away. Tibbers was thrown down. There's going to be enough disengage. The point that I want to get to, after this performance, after these opening 30 minutes, Fnatic are going to have very high expectations for the rest of their games, because this is phenomenal coordination, as they're now going to look to siege down their bottom inner turrets.
Just such a different playstyle as well for a team in the EU LCS. I mean, we've been used to these like teamfight focused late game comps from pretty much all the teams. Now we have Fnatic coming in, showing us, first of all, they can play Rengar. Not something we've seen a lot in Europe beforehand. And also, they can make the plays, they can prioritize the towers and don't care about sitting just farming. Make plays, man. Play aggressive.
Well, it seems to be working for Fnatic. Just going to give some props again to Freeze and Mr. Isles. Freeze actually saying that Fnatic could surprise Elements, and Mr. Isles saying that he felt Elements early game could be their crutch, could be their problem. So Fnatic, bottom inhibitor turret being smashed on. Down to about 50% HP. Steelback is focusing the turret. He's got a lot of damage down. Wicked Spirit Visage gets popped very quickly by Febiven. But Elements unable to aggress, unable to initiate, scared of the gold difference, scared of the item difference they find themselves fighting against.
Yeah, and Febiven has just been able to do so much damage. Together with Huni, actually, 2 AP champions from Fnatic, because there's not really a lot of magic resist on the side of Elements. Just a Banshee on Wicked. No Locket being picked up, no Athenes. They're going in though.
Oh, they're going on to Steelback. Steelback manages to get away. Shook and Wicked locked inside the Cataclysm. Shook goes down first. Wicked in reply. Huni did the right thing and kept Elements on the defensive. Now Reckless and Froggen left to defend the base, but it's too little. It's too late. Fnatic looking to the last Nexus turret. They're going to get the bottom lane inhibitor. Top middle lane inhibitors respawn, I believe, in a few seconds. They're going to set themselves up. Deciding not for the Nexus turrets. Massive amount of minions. You're right, Deficio. You can't go through those base gates, Fnatic. They're not even going to wait for the minions, Deficio. They're on the inhibitor turrets.
Yeah, the tables once again just tanking it up. Here should be another inhibitor. Entire base from Elements are just open now. It's going to pour in with super minions. And we're still fairly, 33 minutes in. You're not going to stop 3 waves of super minions and 5 members from Fnatic.
Well, Fnatic, it's their game to lose, extending the gold lead. Absolute map control. Elements, little to nothing left to do. Look at the smiles and the laughter on the faces of Fnatic on their player cams. And the stern looks of focus that's coming out of Elements. I'm shocked at the level of performance. We'd heard that Fnatic were doing well in scrims. We'd heard Huni and Rainover were doing well. We saw target bans to Febiven. And none of it could have prepared us for this level of domination.
No one couldn't have prepared Elements either because they had absolutely no idea what was happening in the start of the game. Just being picked off left and right. And again, in these team fights, because they happened so early on, Febiven and Steelback has just been able to sit completely untouched. Nobody could dive them, get all the kills. I mean, again, Febiven on the zero. He's been looking so strong. Whenever he ultis, he kills people. Wow. Going in again.
Let's see what he can do. Shook's alone in the Cataclysm. The rest of Fnatic bouncing down. Reckless manages to survive the second, but not the third shot. Fnatic, 2 easy kills and Elements. Last, desperate play. Does not pay off. 0-4-6, and Reckless is wrecked in the opening game of the 2015 season.
Chasing in here. I mean, so 1 inhibitor open here. Just kill it. You have super minions coming. Just look at the minimap from the bottom lane, from the top lane. This should be game.
Well, Fnatic just have to close it out. They've got minions pouring in all throughout the map. Tiny bit of wave clear from Froggen. It's too little. It's too late. Fnatic look to be going in. That was a flash from Yellowstar. The last Nexus turret falls. Fnatic are onto the Nexus. They are the victors of the first game of the European LCS.
Such a great performance by every single man. Look how happy they are as well. They were obviously nervous going into this game. You're facing the champions of Europe, and then you go in here and you dominate them this hard.
Massive smiles across the board. Next to speechless, really. Febiven 10-1-12, Steelback 5-0-17. We asked the question yesterday, was Fnatic's reign over, or will Rainover lead them to a new crown? I think you're leaning towards the latter after seeing that performance.
Yeah, after this performance for sure here, but we have to see if they can keep it up. I mean, the following weeks, now teams know, okay, we have to respect the early game from Fnatic. And Elements in this game, it just seems like they were planning on sitting back and farming for a good 20-25 minutes, get your Trinivores, get some tank items on your 2 frontline tanks in the Jarvan and the Aurelia. But Fnatic, they was like, we're never gonna let you just sit and farm. We are just gonna take down your towers, tank them with our tapers, give you the first dragon, we don't care. Open up this map here and constantly just team fight against you. And Elements had no answer. They didn't expect this for sure.
No, definitely not. And massive smiles across the board in the Fnatic camp. Now, unless I'm mistaken, I thought that was Harry. Oh, we'll have to see if it is in a second or two. But regardless, just such a great performance from Fnatic. Really showing up, really stepping up their game. And, you know, Elements defending champions. You guys at home, make sure you hit us up on Twitter. Hashtag LCS big plays. Let us know what stands out in your mind. Febiven had giant shoes to fill. He was replacing Xpeke.
Yeah.
And you have to think that's a performance worthy.
100%. I mean, everyone here in Europe, I mean, all the players, when you talk to the mid laners in Europe, they respect him a lot. They all say he's extremely good. His only problem is his nerves, and yeah, if he can avoid tilting when he's playing here on the big stage. With that performance, I mean, you're going to get so much confidence going into the next few weeks.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely no doubt. Massive smiles across the board. But you got to look at it from the other direction. Elements, they picked a team comp that I would say has not evolved from last year. You think the Aurelia, the Jarvan, the Lulu, the playstyle, the way that you've got to move the gears, it's not too different from what Alliance were doing in 2014, and it simply didn't work. I mean, Fnatic ran circles around them. They were dictating the tempo, and Elements had little to no pushback, little to no say against what Fnatic were doing.
So the comp from the composition from Elements, I mean, it wasn't terrible. They had decent enough mid game with Aurelia, with the Lulu and the Graves here. Of course, you have the Jarvan for the early game, so the comp itself wasn't like, oh, passive, let's just sit back and farm. But that's the Elements play style, is we are going to take it fairly easy. We're not going to take any chances in the early game. We are going to play it somewhat passive and get 1 or 2 items before we want to start team fighting. And that's what Fnatic punished with this very aggressive comp here. It wasn't really because Alliance picking Bamfast. Okay, if you look at the picks Fnatic got here, they got a lot of the strong picks. Lissandra came in there, of course. We had the Sivir being locked in as well. That was fantastic for them. But Alliance, I think actually they got the comp they wanted to. They just didn't know how to react to this fast pushing or fast play style early on from Fnatic. That's
sort of the point that I think you have to look at Elements and evaluate and judge them on. How do they evolve their gameplay? The Season 2, early Season 3 style of wait back, farm, get to mid to late game, and then win on team fights and coordination, it just is not relevant. It's just not, it's not a guaranteed way to win anymore. You have to be more proactive. You have to have that strategic diversity to make things work.
Yeah, I agree. But for Elements, it's all about Shook in the early game. It's not about Wicked making plays, not Froggen making plays. No, it's Shook. If he's there and he managed to get a few ganks off, suddenly the whole early game is just won and the Elements snowball. We saw it in World Championship against Nigel White Shield. Perfect game from Elements, or Alliance back then, where Shook just destroyed everyone on Lee Sin. Every single gank worked. In this game, he played it fairly passive. He had one gank in the top lane. The rest was just purely counter ganks on the Jarvan against the Rengar, where you have the advantage pre-6, and you can constantly, throughout the entire game, actually make plays and make picks on a Jarvan. He didn't use it. He stayed back, and obviously it's not just his fault. It's the rest of the team as well, not adapting to what's going on.
Well, it definitely puts an interesting mix to the EU LCS. You have Reckless losing his first game against Fnatic. You've also got Febivin winning his first game with Fnatic. Tomorrow, Fnatic take on H2K. That's going to be an interesting grudge match from that angle. And I'm also very interested to see how do Elements bounce back against Unicorns of Love. That's going to be their opponent tomorrow. And this is going to be a blow to confidence. This is going to be a blow to all of the prep that's gone into it. I mean, we said Elements/Alliance looked shaky at IEM San Jose. They looked shaky, if not even worse, here on the stage because they didn't even have any big plays.
Again, it just seems like every single time someone does something new against them, at IEM San Jose, we actually saw the same kind of comps coming from Cloud9, a lot of hard engage, so you could just constantly start fights. Elements has no answer to it just yet. They need to go back here, rewatch this game and say, okay, where can we make plays early on? Where can we use our jungler better? How can we avoid being ganked by Rainover? A Rengar pre-level 6 was part of 2 kills. That should never, ever happen. You should be able to spot him coming in, and that's just not good enough from them. And that's the thing. They have all the big players here. They have the big names, but they still have some mistakes in their gameplay they have to fix.
Yeah, and you've got to give some props to Wicked on that Aurelia. He really was 1v1ing Huni very well, but Rainover, he pitched a tent. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. He spent a good portion of the laning phase in that top lane. I mean, it's a good strategic decision. All credit to him for making those calls.
That's where you should lose something elsewhere.
Exactly.
But he didn't. And therefore, it worked out for him just sitting top lane, making sure Huni got back in the game.
And that was where the problems come for Elements. They just simply are not proactive enough. The only real sort of moves they made was for that top and the middle sort of outer turrets very early on. And from there on out, there was just nothing to be had.
So we have to remember, again, it's only game 1. I mean, there's a long season ahead of us.
Yeah, but we need statements.
You're going to play everyone twice. So I'm sure Elements, they won't be happy with this performance here. They will look at it and say, okay, we did not do what we were supposed to do early on. We even picked a combo which could actually bite back in this early to mid game, but we just didn't do anything. They're going to try and fix it. Maybe not for tomorrow. I mean, Unicorns of Love is a team who can do the exact same thing Fnatic just did here. Play very aggressive, play a bit of a unique picks as well. If they're not ready for it, might be 0-2. Not the first time we've seen them have a bad start to a spring split, though.
Yeah, the only difference is, of course, for this time round, at the end of the split, whoever has those championship points, at the end of the season, then ends up going to Worlds. You do need to keep up a stable performance or a higher level performance throughout all of the year. Something that we were talking about as well. It's the top 6 teams that go to playoffs. We've got a 10-team league now. You can't afford to be in the bottom 4. You can't afford to be in the last spot, auto relegation, and top 6 make it to those playoff berths.
Yeah, and of course, if you get top 6, don't have to think about relegation, where before, of course, you would come in. If you lost your quarterfinal, you had to play a match for the 5th place. And if you got it, you were safe. If not, you had to go down to relegation. No longer. Get in the playoff. You focus only on that and trying to get towards, obviously, in the spring split, you want to try and win it to gain as many points. But then to go towards Worlds, played in Europe.
Yeah, everyone's going to be playing for home pride, home field advantage. We are getting a few of the Fnatic members onto the analyst desk in just a moment or two.